I would probably change the countdown.
What?
Can you change the countdown time
To what?
to like 60, maybe a minute?
I can't this late in the game. We're
Oh,
live
okay.
right now, so.
I was just wondering.
Oh, it's on Facebook. Okay, here we go. We have 0 people right now. As soon as we start seeing some, we'll put it on. Here we go. Hello, hello. How is everybody doing? Phoenix, are you there?
I am present. And obviously, this is where we talk the real talk. We gain our knowledge and experience. We're two old cronies. No, I'm just kidding.
We are two old cronies, both in Arizona.
With mature age and wisdom, grandmas and obviously moms, that we share our insight, our intellect, and our humor in many different cases that we are talking about. Anything that's in the spotlight in the media on series, you name it, we're going to talk about it right here.
And who's the hottest topic at this time? Good old Gypsy Rose.
Hot topic. Now, I have been talking on this topic since December of 2024 when she was released. But I will tell you, early on in 2015, when this case first came out, I was interested because there was a missing young teen, allegedly, at the time. To our surprise, she wasn't a teen at the time. And what
Nor was she missing.
Yeah, when she was missing. And what we found out she did through court records and documents and testimony and witness statements and interviews with the local police and Wisconsin police blew my mind. And ever since she has been released in 2024 December, it has been a crazy, wild journey. Wouldn't you say so, Naomi?
Absolutely. It's been wild to say the least, and to watch some of the creators do their videos, their reels, if you will, on this topic is insane, because they go from one extreme to the other. Everybody thinks something different. I like to deal with facts. Phoenix likes to deal with facts. So we have that in common. I don't like to just do things just for views. And so we will be talking as much as possible about facts today. And to lighten the moment, I thought we'd show you a few little memes, those doll things that are going around, just to show you guys. We think it's funny. So I'm going to just show you a few of them. This is the first one, the Chad and Demona doll. I think it's so cute. Look at the little toothbrush.
I have seen these. I have definitely seen these. I
I
will
don't
not
know who to
lie.
give credit for.
I will not lie. When I first saw these, I thought, oh my God, cha-ching, cha-ching. So
I
Chad and Demona. If you don't know what that refers to, is obviously a Chad is a man or it can be a female, I guess. And Demona was one of the I don't want to say personalities,
personalities.
I want to say entities of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. And if you've just joined us for the live, thank you so much for joining us. We greatly appreciate you. We are watching your comments. Hello, Barb. Hello, Carol. We we think they're funny too, and it has been a shit show. And you know, on YouTube we can say what we want. And also, thank you for those who are joining us live on Facebook. We do see you. Um,
Yes, we
and
do.
and these dolls are kind of just showing our culture, right? This is a creative way to show frustration, in my humble opinion. So whoever created this, genius move, especially with the toothbrush.
I mean, I was
OM.
looking at the little details, the knife, the handcuffs, the whip, the little brush, the hairbrush. If you don't know about the hairbrush,
Yeah, so
Gypsy
the
is
tooth.
showing her jealousy.
Yeah, so why don't we talk about those things real quick since we're focused on the visual? Because if you're not aware, the toothbrush was in the FOIA documents that Gypsy was using the toothbrush for nefarious reasons and that wasn't for her teeth. And if you can connect the vibration with the toothbrush and a woman, then you'll kind of get the reference. Go tell them what the toothbrush was, Naomi. I mean, the
Um,
hairbrush.
well, I was going to say, let's make it more clear. The toothbrush was used in a sexual manner,
Yes. I didn't
and
want to
it's
get
pretty
there,
gross.
but I was letting them put the pieces together.
Yeah, well, just in case, the hairbrush is there because Gypsy was cleaning out Ken's apartment, or Ken's place, I should say, for them to be able to move into a house. And she found a hairbrush and it had some blonde hair in it. And so she made reference that she found the hairbrush of an old girlfriend and she was starting to show her jealousy. And of course, Ken said that it wasn't an old girlfriend's, but she was seen doing this on one of the shows, one of the season shows that she does. And so it was important to put the hairbrush in there to show that, oh, here comes the jealousy, you know. The knife, kind of self-explanatory. She murdered her mom with a knife many, many times. And the dog is Ken's dog.
Right.
So I'm trying to
And
look
if
at
you're not
the,
aware that the handcuffs obviously are reference back to Gypsy stating that she was chained to a bed for weeks. I think I don't know if that is the actual handcuff or is that a dog leash.
you know, it could be both because if you recall, Gypsy
Yes.
had mentioned being put on a dog collar because she
Yes.
liked to pretend play. This girl definitely has some issues.
And I do believe that is a dog leash. So that is the reference. And obviously, they're holding the money bags because they're making bank off of this unaliving, this murder of her mother, which is taboo. In our culture, you don't murder or take the life of your mother who gave birth to you. You don't do it for religious reasons, you don't do it for moral reasons. It is just it's blown my mind since day one that people are actually looking up to this person and putting her on a stage on a pedestal. It is unethical and it is a moral issue.
Yeah, and
So
then you can see the little plaque in the right hand bottom corner, rest in peace, mommy. So that's kind of
yeah,
self explanatory. Let's show you the next one. Gypsy the Slayer.
yeah,
I don't think this one looks as much like her, but you can see it's her. Of course, the wheelchair, because she had been in a wheelchair her whole life. In fact, when they saw that she was missing, they were shocked to find that she was walking when they caught her because everybody thought she was stuck in a wheelchair. And there's that toothbrush again.
well, here let me just go back in regards to the wheelchair. And she has admitted in her book that it was a farce, it was fake, that she knew she could walk, but she manipulated and played the game to have this fairy tale life. And speaking of that, she just said the same exact words in the series on last night's episode, if anybody caught that, which we'll talk about the episodes coming up. But she believes she lives in this fairy tale lifestyle because she is manipulating her mother at the time, other people and charities, and now she is manipulating on a mass scale the public. It is disgusting. This is just blows my mind every day because the fairy tale that she's living, she believes that's her reality. So who's going to tell her? Who's going to tell her?
And the crown there is, I think, partly because of what you just said, that she thinks she's living a fairy tale life. But I think it's also because when she was growing up, she loved to pretend to be a princess. She was always in princess dresses and princess crowns, and that was her life. The flip phone, was what she used to talk to men, a lot of them, and do these role plays with her different characters. She had Demona, she had Ruby, she had others. This was not an innocent little child. She likes to pretend she was, but she wasn't.
These two weapons here that were actually used, I believe, they are both different. And whoever is doing this symbolizing exactly what was done. She thought she was in fairy tale heaven. She wanted to be a princess. We know she was using the phone and the toothbrush not in the proper ways. The things and the conversations that she had over texting, sexting, you name it, with the pictures and the videos. It's all in court documents, all in the Greene County Sheriff's reports. And obviously the unaliving, she lied on the stand. I don't know if anybody fully watched the hearing. And last night I was watching a creator that she came on live with, and her name is Julie. And I was watching that clip where she had Gypsy on, and she was like, oh no, I testified on Nick's behalf. I testified him. And actually, she was under subpoena to be there. It wasn't to testify for Nick's behalf, but that's the part that they share with us, because she was up there trying to make it not look so bad for Nick, and did a freaking horrible job, to where the judge and both attorneys, the prosecutor and the defender, had a sidebar because her testimony was not truthful. You guys do realize that if you watch those videos and you watch those interviews, it's very clear they all knew she was trying to pull a fast one on the court. Her manipulation was not going to work on those grown men in our justice system. So whoever is making these are making it very clear, and there's so much more behind it. Yeah, I know Julie is on Gypsy's side. She takes the side of the alleged victim. And that's another thing that we'll bring up when we watch. We'll talk about the episodes. But some of these, I think you have a few more pictures. I mean, we could really go into detail.
I have one more.
So this one, Gypsy the Slayer limited edition. Again, the repetitive nature of the weapon, the cell phone, the crown, her outfits, the wigs.
Now this is Ruby. This is her alter ego, Ruby.
Yeah, and they didn't put that on there. I wish they would have.
Yeah, but I mean, we know from watching all that's going on.
And what is that on the left-hand side? I could not figure that out for the life of me, even with my glasses on.
You know, I'm not really it looks like a DNA, a pregnancy test.
Oh, yeah, it might be. It might be because Ruby's the one that wanted so desperately to have a baby, right?
Right. I mean, it looks like, I mean, I don't know exactly what it is, but it looks like it could be a pregnancy test.
Kind of. I thought maybe it was a bathroom scrub brush. I don't know, a toilet brush. At first I was like, what the heck is this? I have no idea.
This one's not as clear as the other ones for sure.
Yeah, I wish they would have labeled it. But whoever is doing this is doing a mighty fine job, I might say. I mean, guys, you got to look at the humor side of it. Hey, Barb. Yeah, I'm still wondering if she didn't get the court-ordered DNA report.
She did.
Yeah, she did, but she's not. It's under court order, right? You're not going to get
So
that
Ryan had,
information unless you ask for the records. And in this case, if it involves a child, they usually don't release the records to anyone but the parents. That's
but
just the way
Ryan
it is.
did say that he did it, not on live. I talked to Ryan like Amber talks to Ryan.
Okay.
He did have to get the court ordered DNA, and Ken is the baby.
Yeah.
So, or Ken
So
is the
tell
baby.
me,
Ken is the baby daddy. Sorry. Um, so
so
there's that.
tell me how she lost all the weight before being pregnant, after being
You know,
pregnant. I
I
mean,
think I have
fun
an
fact.
answer for that
You know,
because
that's a really easy question. I mean, I can speak from experience. After my first child, I lost the baby weight and about 20 to 22 pounds.
and I
So
was going to
once
say
you're,
too, she's been locked up in jail and
yeah,
hadn't had good eating habits either. And she got pregnant so quickly that I think it all just kind of got to combine together.
yeah, and it's a couple of different things when you look at individuals' health. It's genetics, number one, stressors, emotional eating, lack of exercise, all these different things. But from my experience, when you're up in the middle of the night, when you're taking a baby, your metabolism runs faster, you are awake more often, your sleep cycle's crazy, your hormones begin to get balanced after you have the baby, and that plays a lot in weight loss, especially, we know breastfeeding helps with weight loss too. However, she's not. So if you look at her genetics and all these other things, she was frail before. She had a failure to thrive. That's why she had the feeding tube. She may have a lot of, um, you know, how do I say this without being so, I'm not a negative Nancy, but when your head is not in the right space, your body and mind are disconnected. And people who are sad and depressed, they usually eat to fill that void. Now, if she's like on the go all the time and her metabolism kicked up high and she's not eating as much, she is burning fat that is stored for those types of stressful situations. And that's basically how the body works. So
And that's kind
not
of what I'm saying.
everybody.
She was in prison and her metabolism was way different.
Yeah, she was sedentary. I heard that she would sit in her jail cell most of the day. She wouldn't go out and get yard exercise or fresh air. She was paying other people for biscuits and gravy. Sorry, I had to throw that in there, y'all, to keep it a little humorous. But those are the things. I mean, biscuits and gravies are pretty fattening, right? You
Yes,
gain
they
weight.
are.
You gain weight when you don't move, when you don't get off the couch or the chair. So absolutely. And age, she has age on her side. She's still in her mid 30s, before you hit that dreaded 40-50 mark. And hormones go wild again and start to pack on the pounds with the lack of exercise and eating healthy. I mean, I guarantee you she's not over there eating fruits and veggies all day long. Do you think she's
No.
down there in Louisiana eating that kind of stuff?
Well, she says that she's eating, the way she's keeping it off is she's eating only 2 times a day and she's only allowing herself to eat sweets once or twice a week. If she's doing that, if she's actually sticking to that with the crap she was eating in prison, I could see it melting off.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, but I mean, I've lived down in Mississippi, right on the border of, Louisiana. I lived in Gulfport, Biloxi. When I mean, we drive into Slidell for concerts on the weekend. That's how close we were. But when you start looking at the way that they eat down there and you start looking at the culture, that is probably the most overweight part in our country, other than, down Bible Belt South in Texas. So when you
Mm-hmm.
start looking at those ways of eating out there, you can definitely see, hey, there's something going on. And like I said before, her metabolism is well kicked up, especially if she's not getting proper sleep. She's not doing, any hormone therapy. Her hormones are balancing out. Maybe in her genetics, her past history shows that she had a failure to thrive. So it might just be in her metabolism and her genetics. And she's getting back to her pre pregnancy weight, maybe even lose more what you've seen in her frail pictures when she was sick.
Yeah.
So, because she did have actual sickness, y'all, she did have documented illnesses.
Right. A couple more photos we're going to talk about before we start talking about the season. This one, this is getting a lot of attention right now.
Yeah, night 3 of colic. Now Ken's
I'm
been
sure you all
gone.
saw the
Correct?
video. What was that, Phoenix?
Ken has been gone. He has been out on vacation, correct?
He's been in Waveland, Mississippi.
Yeah. So
Everybody's been saying Florida.
Yeah,
He's not in
Wakeland
Florida.
is a really nice area. And, there's a lot to do out there, especially around this time. If he needed a vacation or a break, that's a really nice place to go visit. But
So
obviously, she posted this a couple of days ago.
she did a video where the baby was screaming and she was frustrated. And everybody's been saying that she did it to make Ken feel bad for going away and leaving her with the baby, when it's been clear, and they've both said it on live and on the show, that the baby is more attached to Ken than she is to Gypsy.
Well, didn't I say that weeks ago? It looks like she is detached from this child emotionally and physically.
I have to give her props though. She seemed, unless it was for the camera, she seemed pretty patient with that baby screaming in her ear.
Well, another thing is that people were like, what is wrong with the baby's arm? Why is Ken left? Who is with her? Is anybody supervising her with this baby? We don't know what's going behind the scenes. We're only being shown what she wants us to see. Correct. And it did look like some type of manipulation ploy to get Ken to come home. And I heard he did.
I think it was a planned coming home, though. I think he was done with his trip.
Oh, interesting.
I don't think it was like, I'm coming home because you're having a hard time with the baby.
Well, shame on all these people that are letting out false narratives, right? Because
it's exactly why after this one, we're going to do one more. Yep.
Especially if his trip was done, then she knew he was coming home. And Barbara, you just had the topic that I'm really going to talk about. It may be for the camera. It may be all for show. Social media is not real life, right? It's entertainment and education purposes, but I do not believe that Ken is as whipped as everyone thinks. I just don't see it. I don't see it in his mannerisms. I don't see it in his behavior. And Gypsy even said it in the show, which we'll talk about. Go ahead.
I don't see it either. And I do, although I don't like Ken per se, I do see him as a man's man, like stepping up in the relationship to where he's like, no, we don't need that. Or, I'm trying to get this more in order. He's trying to take charge. It's probably extremely difficult with someone like Gypsy. Well, but I do see that in him.
I have always seen Ken as the authoritative person in her life. I believe they brought Ken in to help Gypsy rationalize logically a lot of the things that Christy and Rod may have not been able to reach her. And Ken is more of a guardian, like guardianship, to where he'll make the best decision for Gypsy and the baby. Not from a perspective of, oh, I love this woman, I'm going to marry her. Not one bit. But I see them as two individuals having a child, but yet friends. I don't see them in this love relationship.
Right. That's probably why they're in therapy. Barb says, did you see how mad he got when Ken found out she posted the DNA before Ken got the results? Oh, and she even said when Bree asked her, she says, you're going to post the results before you give them to Ken. And Gypsy's response was just, well, I tried calling him twice, but he's at work till 10 p.m. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and post it.
Well, see, and this was my thought process in the beginning, is Ryan was also that authoritative figure in Gypsy's life to keep her in check and do the logical things. There's a lot of things behind Gypsy in the genetic issues that she carries. And one of those is mental health. So she needs somebody in her life that's going to be strong enough to say, no, this logically does not make sense. This is irrational. It's emotional. You can't make decisions when you're in that state. You have to be logical. And I saw Ryan as that authority figure, and she didn't like that. But Ken, on the other hand, is still an authority figure, but he's not as restricted as Brian was.
Right. Yep, I agree. Let's get to this last picture and then we'll talk about the season. I believe there. So this is a thing that's going around, and I squashed it from the very beginning, but I want to talk about it because it's here she is saying it herself. It says, Gypsy, why did you spend $200+ at the sex shop, but you've got your baby on Wick? You're a dishonest scammer. People are going to report you. Gypsy never said she was on Wick, and I've said this from the get-go. I made a video, and boy, were people coming at me. What she said was whatever program she's on, I think she used the word program. She might have used a different word, but it wasn't anything to do with Wick. She said doesn't cover the special sensitive tummy formula that she needs for the baby. There are lots of programs out there where women get help with baby formula. She did not say she was on Wick. Not for 1 second did I say or think she was on Wick. And everybody went off, oh my gosh, she's on Wick. Just like, she's asking for free stuff. They're always like thinking she's poaching off people. She responds, I don't know who told you that, but it is not true. We are not on any government assistance at all. More lies from the BS that gets pushed by clickbait. This is true. I have to give it to her. She is under the microscope. And people take every little thing she says and run with it. And I've told you guys over and over on my page, that's why I don't do that. I go by what was said only. I go by the facts. That's why I get so confused. Where are you people getting this from? And then something like this happens. What do you think about it, Phoenix?
I would definitely have to agree, Naomi, because number one, it would not make sense if she was on any government assisted program, because normally those are based by finances. And even if she was on a program to where they help supplement, or an insurance program or an outreach program that's not financially based, there are plenty of options to get assistance. So if she needed any assistance with any type of special formula, because she did say something about what, some special formula, or why would she even need, and Barb agrees, why would she need special formula? Did the doctor say she needs a special formula?
Yes.
Probably.
She said that.
Okay. So if the baby is truly needed on some specific formula, now I can go back and think about my child. She was allergic to cow's milk and goat's milk, and we had to put her on a plant-based formula, which, if anyone knows, that stuff was expensive in 92.
Yes.
I mean, 1992, it was like $80 a bottle for canister. And, she couldn't take soy. She couldn't do this. It was horrible. So I will tell you, if she's on any type of special formula, that is not cheap. And keep in mind, genetics plays a big portion in Gypsy's health and the health of her child, because Gypsy had a failure to thrive. If the baby's on special formula, she may be showing signs already. And this is why I say, give the baby the benefit of the doubt, but let's educate people on what this, genetic mutation really is. Right. Take a step back. It's not our child. We're just helping educate. And this is something that Gypsy should be educating. But keep in mind, if she begins to educate on this subject, it's a double-edged sword for her.
She's admitting.
That will be her own admission that her mama was not as bad as they have made her out to be.
But this is where she wants to be an advocate. This is one she could do. She could start educating people on this. Put your pride aside. You can't be tried for the same crime. Just do it. Start to look like a better person.
And what have I been saying for a year? Gypsy, just tell the truth.
Yep.
You'll make tons of money telling the truth. But all these lies are catching up to her, and we can see her falling apart in front of our eyes. And we'll get to talk more about that. What else did you have, Naomi?
That's it for that. We're going to talk about the season and get caught up. And
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
all
want
that
to. I
good
want to
stuff.
just put this picture up there because y'all have to remember at this time of picture, she was, I believe, was she an adult at this time?
This one, she was a teenager. She wasn't quite an
Okay.
adult. I want to say she was 18 or 19 here.
Well, I mean, that's an adult. 18 is an adult. And I just wanted to make sure that I was looking at the right picture. I think she was 18 and she was still having a failure to thrive, you guys. It wasn't based on her diet, it was based off her genetic mutation, her microdeletion. You have to start looking at the bigger picture here. So, in order for her to be an advocate, she's going to have to admit a lot of truth, even if that means getting off social media. So if you're not familiar, let me add this one picture. I got the wrong one. This is one of the things that we started the intro on the show, right? Is because our show here at the Real Talk. Because one of the things that we are seeing are these creators, and this is the top videos in the last 24 hours. There are some creators now starting to share actual fact and evidence. It's taken over almost a year and a handful of months, 4 or 5 months, for people to begin to start looking at the truth and the evidence and the facts in this case. People are starting to now share, and you're seeing a more of a greater awareness on the app TikTok. And you know, TikTok is the most popular app right now in social media. And like Naomi said, you know, Gypsy Rose Blanchard is a hot topic. It is a very hot topic still to this day, just like the Menendez brothers are now resurfacing, Casey Anthony resurfacing, Chris Watts resurfacing. I mean, all of these unalivers are finding a way, yeah, to get to social media to make what? Bank. They want to grab a bag. They want to make some cash. They want to uh, exploit their stories. But, you know, when you start drilling down to who these social media creators are they on the Blanchard side? Are they on the side of, you know, Bree? Are they on the side of Gypsy? Are they on the side of the truthers? Are they on the side of the conspiracy theorists? Are they on the side of truth and evidence-based facts? And, you know, although, you know, like Amber J is hilarious,
Yes, she is.
you have to just laugh. And the people that put a spin on, you know, this case, there's some really awful, sad horror behind this case. But there's also a lot of truth with humor that some of these creators have made this out to be, which I applaud those, you know, like Amber J's. There are very few Amber J's. And then you have the more authentic, like Nathada, right? Did I say her name wrong? She's out there,
Oh,
and she,
Nadatha.
Nadatha, she makes logical sense of what is going on in the bigger picture. You know, I was bringing a lot of truth and facts, and a lot of people didn't like truth and facts. Naomi speaks wisdom, right? Hey, she talks directly to Gypsy. Hey, Gypsy, stop dancing, right? As a grandma and a mom, you're making yourself look bad. And it looks like she's having a freaking meltdown because she can't control the narrative anymore. And you see that in her reality show. So if you're not aware, obviously there is a show that's being produced for Gypsy Rose, and it's a Lifetime channel, and you can download it on your app. And it goes, you know, prison. What is it? Life after lockup.
Yes.
And there have been some wild, crazy things that Gypsy has admitted to. I don't even think she's realizing she's admitting that people are not paying attention. Well, we are. And, you know, Barb says, I've watched every show since she started her series. And I have to say, a lot of things don't add up. You know,
Correct.
and that's when you have to start questioning the narrative. I'll let Naomi go first because there are some episodes that we are just baffled over, and some statements that I have written down that have come out of Gypsy's own mouth that are highly questionable.
Well, we can go back and forth, but the thing that just strikes me is the Bree thing. When did she meet Bree? Who did she meet Bree through? Did Bree actually meet Christy online, or did she know Christy at first? Because those stories aren't matching up.
Okay, so allegedly, and I have a clip, that Bree met Christy on TikTok. Then they met for coffee. But I've said since day one when Bree showed up on the scene that she is a paid person. Who in their right freaking mind would spend 24 hours a day online defending an unaliver?
It's a lot when you get bullied like she's getting bullied, like I got bullied, like you've been bullied. It takes everything out of you. You cannot tell me that somebody is freely going through that emotional crap just for nothing.
No, she's getting
Just
paid.
because she's
And
a good friend.
I asked her on a live, are you getting paid? And I clipped it. She denied she's getting paid. But yet she's been on Lifetime. She has been advocating for Gypsy 24/7. There has been money thrown her way in lives. She has 4 or 5 supporters all the time. This is planned. Allegedly, this is staged. It's for show. It's for entertainment. Social media is entertainment. It is not real life scenario.
And I'm getting paid for Lifetime. IRK got paid for Lifetime. Nina got paid for Lifetime. You can't tell me as many times as I've seen Bree and her clips on Lifetime that she's not getting paid. It's just not happening.
To be. They have to be getting paid, compensated in some way. So
Ryan's even getting paid.
Absolutely. Absolutely 100%, Barbara. Now, very few people will see the truth. Not a lot of people will put 2 and 2 together and say, they're getting money, they're getting paid, they're getting people to donate money. Just like in the show, Gypsy had Mia stated it, and I'll read you exactly Mia's statement. Mia said, the place that they had Gypsy's baby shower, that organization raises money to help people with disabilities who all their money goes to the event here. So Gypsy must have got that event center for free.
It sounds like it.
And she got the cookies from the lady that she picked them up for free.
Right, because she was going to show everybody where she got it.
Because that woman clearly said, I'm a victim and thank you for everything you're doing. Boy, she was snowed over. That is so sad. People out of the kindness of their hearts are believing she was a victim because her attorney, Mike Stanfield, supported, they went through all the possible scenarios of a defense, and they went with that defense to make her look like the battered wife syndrome. And when they realized that wasn't going to work, then they had to use the Munchausen by proxy.
Well, let's not call him her lawyer. He's not anymore. He's her manager.
Well, he appears on the show, and that was my next point. He appears on the show. What attorney has ever showed up at someone's baby shower, at somebody's book signing, at somebody's defense in civil matters, especially against, April Johns, Fancy Miss Sally, aka that court document was filed by Mike Stanfield in a civil matter. So, I can go in a whole tangent on that, but I won't for now. But what attorney do you know civilly, privately, shows up at someone's baby shower, shows up to stand up for her defense and keep the narrative on track? A talent scout, maybe? A manager?
I don't, my thought honestly is just somebody who knew from the beginning that he was going to have buku bucks if he played it right. And that's how we came up with Munchausen to begin with. Like, I'm going to show her, I'm going to be with her forever, and she's going to make me bank.
And I'm wondering if he could legally be held accountable for that.
I've thought about that many times.
Law license.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he has to stop practicing law on his own and become a PR manager.
I don't know, but I don't like him.
Barbara said, I do live and made a whole $5 in 1 week and had exchange for coins because I couldn't get a PayPal.
We were talking about Brie and the money at that point.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Everything, of course, it's for free. I wouldn't jump on live 16 hours a day, lose sleep in the middle of the night, stay up in the middle of the night to defend someone like that. That's just wild. There had to have been something in it for Brie. What was in it? Money? Fame? Did you hear her being
I
so
don't.
nice to her? She kissed her big time.
I don't
Oh,
think
in
Brie's in it for fame.
the series, yeah, she's in it for money. What's in it for me? The fear of missing out. What's in it for me? What can I get out of this?
I just
Um,
since I can see how uncomfortable Brie is on the show with her and her. I'm going to bring it up. I think she's a gorgeous girl, but her weight, you can just feel that she's uncomfortable.
oh, absolutely. But she's had some health issues she's discussed on live. She's
Right.
had some, infertility issues, and that could
I'm
play
just
a
saying I don't think she
big.
wants to be on the show. Not visibly.
Well, I think she chose to be on it, right? To get on there, you
Yeah.
have to choose. It's free will.
Right.
But what's in it for her? Is it money? Is it, hey, I'll get my name out there? Is she an actor? Does she have any history behind her? Who really is Brie? Has anybody looked into who Brie is?
Not
I know
me.
I have.
I have not.
Okay. So I think that's the first question to ask ourselves. Who are these people, right? Just like Stanfield. Who is Stanfield? Who is Fancy Maselli? Who are all these players? When you begin to understand who the players are, you'll understand how to play the game. It's like
This is a movie in
acting,
itself.
yeah, acting her best friend now. You
If you
can't
can,
diagnose MPV after someone's dead. Absolutely. And it was only a mention of her being in the health records. I think they've taken a real scenario and have just made a big play out of it, a big movie, a big entertainment show.
right. I don't think
Don't miss
Gypsy's
out on
story is
any
as
opportunity.
interesting.
Yeah, don't miss out on any opportunity that hits headlines, right? Think about it. That's the way our country's been built. I feel that she looked like she gained a lot of weight. Ivory has gained a lot of weight. It's stress, it's hormones. Uh, when you start talking about these issues, it throws your body out of whack. Barb, I'd have to agree. I'd like to know how she ended up being Gypsy's supposedly best friend now. Again, Christy admitted that she
Christy.
met Bree online, and Bree says the same thing. I think they were put together. That's my humble opinion. Allegedly, that's my own opinion. And they lined up for this show in the defense of her online. I mean, wouldn't it look kind of weird if Mike had a TikTok account was defending her all day? Yeah, so they got somebody else to do it.
And Christy's not going to do it.
Hell no. I think they have an issue between each other, in my humble opinion.
And then Rod's nowhere to be found. Do we ever see Rod anymore?
I think he's like checked out because he's way too much.
I don't want any part of this anymore. Goodbye.
No, I think he basically, in my humble opinion, a long time ago, I think he told Christy pick Gypsy or me, and Christy picked Gypsy. That's my humble opinion. But he's working. That's the easy way out. Workaholic.
Yeah.
And it takes him away from the home, so he doesn't have to be around all this. No, I'd like to know how she's ending up being Gypsy. Yeah, so now she's her best friend. Yeah, that's questionable.
She says she's her buddy. Gypsy calls her buddy. Bree says she's her best friend.
Well, let me just preface this. Bree was her best friend when Gypsy needed a ride, right? Because she couldn't drive on her own. So, yeah, I mean, she's being chauffeured around by the crew to go pick up the cookies and run errands. And when Ken's not available, the crew was there. When Christy wasn't available, somebody else was always there. So when Christy wasn't available, maybe she got Bree to drive her around and do errands and pick up things. Right now that she can drive on her own, she can drive on her own.
Listen, she's got her license now. Her parole is almost up. The Lifetime people are going to stop recording at some point, and reality is going to hit this girl like a ton of bricks.
And she admitted that. That is a great point, Naomi. And we talked about this just a little bit ago in her show. She basically says on season 2, episode 6, she wants the fantasy world for her and Ken. She lives in fantasy land, y'all. Who is going to tell her? Who's gonna tell her? Just like about the baby having colic and being up in the middle of the night. She knows how much Ken is putting into this relationship. And she said it herself. She said, let me go back and look at my notes. I don't crumble for you, Ken. You know, like I said, they are looking like friends more than lovers, friends with a kid. Ken came from a broken family. Gypsy came from a broken family. They both don't want, their child to be raised around a broken home. Uh, Ken has got daddy issues. He's trying to be Rod's son, right? Rod is over there teaching him about
Mhm.
fishing and all this stuff because Ken's dad and mom were divorced at a young age. I think he said 2 years old. Um, you know, there Ken's dad is not around, and here Rod is trying to teach Ken how to crabbing, fishing, the culture down there because Ken has left Texas. He's left Florida, and now he has chosen to live down there to raise this baby with Gypsy.
I was cracking up on the episode. I think it was 5. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 5, where Gypsy's trying to talk to Ken in the kitchen and he's using the magic bullet to make himself a smoothie. He just cut her off 100% and started making a smoothie, and the look on her face. I mean, it was kind of rude, but that's the relationship they have. He doesn't care. He's just going to do what he wants to do. The look on her
Yeah,
face, if looks could kill. I mean, it was hysterical.
and it looks to me she is trying so bad to make this work, and she's getting to the point of frustration. You see those videos to see how she can get attention, and I don't see them being married at all in the future because she is trying so hard. Bless her heart. I believe she's probably not eating. She's exercising and eating so that she can turn herself into this person that Ken wants, and
Which
I
is
just don't.
opposite of when she was with Ryan.
Yeah, and I just don't see her getting that proposal that she wants to be able to live this fantasy life that she has herself said. It's wild, and they try to get people to donate for everything, right?
Yep.
It's just that manipulation game playing over and over on a larger scale with the public and the community there. What are they going to do once the community knows? Does the community know what this whole manipulation strategy game is?
I can't imagine they don't. Everybody's
Yeah,
got a different opinion, though. There are still a lot of people who believe she was abused. I see it every day on my posts.
yeah. It's
I mean,
crazy.
I get
Somebody talked to
bombarded with
Dan.
those.
No,
I get leave the girl
yeah,
alone. She was abused as a child at least 4 or 5 times a day.
at least. I mean, there's so many holes in her story that do not add up, like that little doll you just showed, right? There's so many that does not add up. Barbara says someone talked to Dan the other night. I
Someone
talked
talked
to Dan
about
last.
Dan.
Oh, talked about Dan. I talked to Dan's friend last year, and he had made it very clear he does not want to be involved in any of this drama. He has children, and he does not want them exposed. He does not want to be exposed at all.
Well, I hate to tell you, Dan, but your kids are going to know about it sometime.
Yeah,
It's
and Gypsy's
inevitable.
kid is going to know about this. Do you know? And I took a screenshot, I didn't throw it in this queue, but this Lifetime show, it says that it will air until December 31, 2035. These videos
Woo!
will be on the internet for 10 years.
Wow.
10 freaking years, because every time someone watch it, Lifetime makes money. They have a 10-year contract with these videos being on the web. Do the research. The information is there for us to find. It is wild the things that I have found in regards to Lifetime and TikTok's contracts that the general public just wouldn't even think about. It's marketing. It is marketing. TikTok markets Gypsy Rose and their Lifetime show, just like any other Lifetime show, with creators to go for people, the general public, to watch this show. That is why it is a hot topic. They have the powers that be to push the narrative in watching these shows. Not just the show, any Lifetime movie, any Lifetime show. any ad, any sponsored ad on any platform.
Well, I don't know how Gypsy thinks she's going to explain it to her child because I can see it now. Well, honey, you're of age now that we need to explain to you that mommy was abused as a child. I'm not going to get into the detail, but it was so bad that I ended up doing something that I shouldn't have done. That's how it's going to start. And instead, this little girl is going to be watching on the internet and see the truth. If she doesn't
I
tell the
think
truth to begin with,
I think Aurora is going to be about 2 or 3 on her tablet or her iPad or whatever device they choose for her. And she's going to come across and see Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Here's her picture, unalived her mother, her grandmother, and yada, yada, yada. I mean, think about the generation that lives online all day long is this generation of young ones that are being raised. The next
mhm.
generation is going to be 3 times as worse. They will depend on the internet for everything. If you think you see old people push back on apps right now because they don't want to have this thing tracking them, little kids today have that thing in their pockets already.
Yep.
She's going
I
to see it.
remember a time when my granddaughters were like asking mom for a cell phone, so they could, or a tablet. And she would say, no, you need to wait till you're like 12. That was then. Now they get them when they're teeny tiny. People
Yeah.
would come into the store when I had it, and they would literally stick their kids on the bench at 2, 3 years old and give them a tablet.
Yeah, it happens. I've seen it. They do it in daycares. At 18 months, everybody gets a tablet to learn their colors and their shapes, and it's everywhere. And I will tell you, Barbara, I'm sorry that you went through your experience. It can help others with mental issues. However, it has no bones that can cause controversy to be a story to be aired on television or on a Dr. Phil or in the media, in that type of media, because there's no wow factor. You didn't unalive your mom. You didn't unalive your dad. You didn't unalive your neighbor, your brother, your sister. You didn't cause harm and pain and torture to someone. It was done to you, right? So, in those cases, writing a book is the best thing that you could probably think about. And unfortunately, they don't want to push those types of shows because it's the stigma of mental illness, unfortunately. And I'm not saying that about you. I'm just saying in general, in our society, they don't address this mental issue like allegedly Gypsy has. If they want to run in and address the mental issue this girl has, because we can see some of it, we are not qualified to diagnose, but we have seen this in others. I say she is a sociopath. I mean, it's worse than a psychopath, but I think she has tendencies to be a narcissist, a manipulator, a master manipulator. And it's really sad that she is manipulating the public. And here we are having to talk about the truth, the evidence, and the facts to help you understand who is Gypsy Rose. I mean, Becca, even though, they pulled her over the rugs and did everything they could for her to discredit her, Becca Scoop still has valid points in this game. She still has valid facts and evidence that she speaks on. And every creator that has facts or evidence, they try to silence them to get them off social media because it hinders their agenda in making more money.
Yep, I can think of a few creators that make a lot of money from lies.
And we are not here to make up stories, make money, bash other creators. That is not our goal here. Our goal is to talk about the craziness that happens on this show, that they are showing you crazy. And I think someone has caught on to the real truth and narrative at Lifetime, and now they are showing you the truth of who Gypsy Rose is. Isn't that a freaking twist?
I mean, I have to say, I was warned when I signed the contract with Lifetime that they were going to make me look bad, and that is not what's happened. They've literally just been playing pieces of my video, and I take full ownership of my videos because, as I said, I only put out things that I think are absolutely true. Have I changed my mind on a few things? Very little, but yes, I have, and that's fine. I'm able to admit, hey, I looked into this further, and this is what I think. but they have not made me look bad. They've literally just played my videos. So I don't know if that's changed with them, and they're just like, oh, maybe we should
Something,
show
yeah,
how people
something's
are really
changed over
feeling, or
there.
what.
I think something's changed over after, people got raked over the coals and some of the comments of the general public, not their, paid trolls. But in episode, let me see, hold on, let me look at my notes. Episode 2, season 2, episode 5, at 6:24, Ken says, the impulsive decision making. He was talking in regards to Jen and in Gypsy's situation. Because Gypsy acts helpless. You can see it at 6:40 in that episode. And then again, obviously I talked about the Julie being on the show, Bree on the show. Gypsy versus Ken and power struggle. I mean, Bree sees it, right?
Right.
One of the other things is that the fantasy of this girl, the delusionalness, if that's even a word, a delulu. She stated on season 2, episode 5 at 8:12, she can't go to bars and meet friends.
Right.
Who in their right mind, pregnant, wants to go to bars because she can't go on parole? Who goes to bars to meet friends? What kind of friends is she talking about? Because she's not going to meet no mommy and me group at a bar.
No, I think she just means just general friends, but I didn't read too much into that, just because she's just wanting people to feel bad for her because she can't go because she's on parole.
But honestly, in real life, do you go to bars to make friends?
Not to make friends, but to meet friends. I think you're thinking a different meet. I think you're taking it, she wants to meet people, like as in find friends, and I'm taking it as she wants to meet people, like, hey, Phoenix, hey, so and so, I'll meet you at the bar.
You ain't gonna catch me at no bar.
I used to do it, and I'm not even a drinker.
Yeah, in my younger years, in my 20s, and yeah, but when I started having kids, there was no bar time for me.
I did it in my 40s.
I wanted to go home, throw my jammies on, and go to sleep.
I guess I'm just weird.
Yeah, but no, I mean, yeah, I just thought that was odd. Is that like the only thing that she, like, it was so important to her to say that, right? Because she's calculating everything she does. If you watch her, she is very calculating. I think that was her way to say, because of what I did, I can't go do what I want, basically. So obviously that's the price you pay for what you did. So being on probation or parole is one of those things that she has a meltdown over when someone has control over her. So, and then she goes on to badmouth Ryan's attorney, saying that she wasn't here to make him look bad, but they were trying to make her look bad on the test for paternity. Because that's what that season was, that episode was, is the baby daddy, right? Who's the baby daddy? Who's whatever.
There was a whole lot of stuff going on with creators at that time too. It was a fake paternity test. People were saying Ken's the dad. It's going to be on the birth certificate. And my whole thing the whole time was, who cares if it's a fake test? They still have to do a court-ordered test. And people were saying, no, that is a real test. Doesn't matter if it's a real test. The court do their own test. And people were arguing with me.
Yeah, they can do their own test, but it's not court-ordered certified. And that's what
right. But I mean, but I was saying they still had to do it in order for it to be legal, because the court needed that. The court wasn't just going to take the paternity test. They did.
No. The court orders it, and the court tells them where to go. They give them options
Correct.
on where they could go. They might have done that out of their own pocket and went and did it, but yet the court may not recognize that test. They have to go and therefore do it with the court ordered.
And that's what I was saying. And I was saying it's not done until that happens, and Ryan needs to go do that. And that's eventually what happened.
Had Ryan done that?
Not at that point, no, but he has now.
Oh, okay. So yeah, those are some of the things that I took note in the series. I mean, a lot of stuff that she says is just out there. And how, the whole thing went down with Ken in prison, that Ken showed up and, they were writing each other back and forth. And then he showed up at the prison and they were kissing and all that stuff. And then Ken got kicked out He couldn't go back and see her because of that. Um, I guess she got an infraction or something. But
Right.
and that kind of makes me think that Ken was toxic from the beginning, right? And even when Gypsy had wrote Christy and said and this was in another series that she had, um, that Gypsy wrote the family and said she wanted an annulment from Ryan, and they convinced her not to, do that, to just stay the course until she was out, which I think Ryan was used as a stepping stone, in my humble opinion, because he looked good on paper, he had a job, he looked authoritative, he could keep her in line, and she used that to get out, and then her and Ken picked up where they left off. So I don't think that Gypsy really had a long time to spend with Ryan anyways, from the time she got out till she was down spending around and goofing around with Ken. I think that was the plan all along. And that's my humble opinion.
Yeah. I don't think Ken and her are going to last either. I think Ken's going to try to make it last as long as possible because of the baby, but I don't think it's going to happen. So that's
Yeah,
my
and,
opinion.
and yeah, Gypsy says that a lot too. I don't want him here just for the baby. She wants to be chosen, and he is just not choosing her. I
Well,
don't
how's
see
it
that.
feel, honey?
Yeah, I don't see that happening anytime. And then she talks about that her mama had a bad relationship with her daddy and all this other stuff and made it out to be so awful. Um, but I mean, there's a lot of truth being shown just in the last couple of episodes. If anyone hasn't noticed, the tide has shifted.
Well, it's about friggin' time. Is there anything
Yeah,
else from the show that you want to go over?
yeah, I think somebody said it really well the other day, and Sheriff Arnott said it from the beginning. Things are not always as they appear. And I think
Sure.
that's eventually, all this had to play out to get to the point that they're at now. I think this is the end of the road for her. I think all the shenanigans with the baby, she's using the baby worse than her mom used her, or she claims used her. When in fact, in the documents, Gypsy knew that she could walk. She played it out as long as she could. And then obviously, with her real health issues, it became a challenge with her muscles. So therefore, they relied on the wheelchair to con and scam people out of money. And that's, I mean,
I
that's
want
the
to,
real case right there.
you just triggered something that I want to talk about. Um, Gypsy's whole preface of her life is that Dee Dee would find things that were wrong with her that weren't really wrong with her. She just self-diagnosed her. And I have made a video about this recently that I feel that Gypsy is doing the same thing in a couple different ways. Now that I've seen a more recent video, I'm positive of it. She states that her baby's colic, but she hasn't been diagnosed with colic. So is she reading on colic and that's her self-diagnosis because that's what her mom did to her? Are you doing the same thing Dee Dee did to you, Gypsy? And then she made a video the other day about how her hair is thinning. She noticed it, and that it seems to be because she did internet research again, Dee Dee, and it seems to be due to the having the baby, a postpartum
Hormones,
thing.
yeah.
Again, do you know that for a fact, or are you just looking on the internet? Well, she stated she looked it up on the internet. So she's doing the exact same thing, supposedly, that her mom did. She is not going to a doctor to get these diagnosed. She's making them up because she's looking at the internet. What is the difference? And how is she not seeing this?
Exactly. And you bring up a very, very good point, Naomi. And I'm glad you said this because I made a video about a year ago when I did talk with some of Dee Dee's neighbors. They told me she was so sweet, hospitable. They had nothing bad to say about her, and they knew about Gypsy's genetic issue. They knew that Gypsy had some true health issues. It wasn't as extreme as her attorney made out to be, or she's made out to be. Not extreme. And if you watch these videos and have a new mindset, a new frame of reference, you can see that Gypsy doesn't talk about her mom. When someone brings it up, the abuse, she shifts the focus And she changes the narrative because she does not have anything bad to say about her mom, just like Nick in his interview when he says, well, Gypsy told me all the good things. Then I felt bad for doing what we did, right? When you begin to watch this in a different frame of mind, you begin to see the inconsistency that Gypsy herself says, Mama's not that bad. Mama wasn't bad. And I made that video almost a year ago. What if Gypsy's mom, Dee Dee, was just a really good mom, trying to get to the bottom of why Gypsy was so sick and what health issues they documented? And it all turned out in 2012 to be genetics.
Yep. I see it happening all over again, and she doesn't see it.
But you have to understand the medical aspect of all this. The technology was not there when she was growing up to understand what it all boiled down to. So when you begin to look at let's say her microdeletion and all the health issues associated with that. They didn't know this at the time, that a microdeletion could lead to this. They didn't know that, certain issues with methylation and detoxification in our genetics could lead to heart disease, obesity, mental illness. They had no idea that every single gene in our body contributes. Now, the only telltale sign is who in your family has heart disease. Why do you think they go in and they screen you and they ask, have you had anybody with heart disease? Have you had anybody with cancer? Have you had anybody with, IBS? Have you had anybody with colon issues? They ask these questions because they are genetically linked to health diseases. Now, had we had this back when Gypsy was younger, and I think Dee Dee sheltered her and protected her because she had all those health issues. Dee Dee didn't know. And what did they do with kids in the old days when they had medical issues? They put them in other rooms. They kept them separated from the normal kids. Do you think Dee Dee wanted Gypsy to continue to go to school and be called all kinds of names and weirdos and freaks and all that stuff? No, Dee Dee was a good protective mom, but Dee Dee did go to find logical reasons what was wrong with Gypsy.
Yep. I agree. And so as we watch some more, I think some more truths will come out.
And when Gypsy says, I don't identify as a schmurderer.
Well, we do. We identify you as one.
We see it. The public sees it. That's what brings me to one of the comments that she made in the show. People online. Maybe online is not the best for her mental illness. Per the experts, I did find an article that one of the experts that was never consulted and never saw her medical records for the trial for Nick Godejohn and her own trial that she was going to have before she took the plea deal. She says the people online, they have all bad things to say, but when the people I meet in person, they never have anything bad to say. If I met her in person, I would tell her what a faker she is. I'd tell her what a manipulator she is. I can see right through you. Now, that's just me. That's my humble opinion. But obviously, make sure that we don't have any of those little doll accessories, right?
Right.
I'm just saying.
I don't think her family is not doing her any justice by not telling her to stay off social media, to be a little more humble, to at least identify as a murderer instead of doing what she's doing, which is obviously getting backlash.
And that's why I say, who's going to tell her? Who's going to tell her?
Not her family.
No, they're scared to tell her. They have to go see her and spend the night in the same house. And I worry for the baby, because if the baby is having health issues, I wonder if she's going to get the proper help and not exploit this little baby.
We will see, I guess, as time goes on.
Yeah, I mean, just pray for protection over that. And I think that's the reason why Ken is there. I think Ken will do the right thing.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Well, that's all I had for today. It's been an exciting hour and 9 minutes, and we thank you
Yeah,
for
not
joining the
bad.
live.
Carol, thank you for speaking through with
Share this
us.
with a friend. Somebody may need to see this and have an eye-opening experience or understand the facts and the evidence behind this case. You can
I'm going
always
to
go
share it.
to Naomi's
Go ahead.
page. She's got a lot of truth and facts. I have tons of truth and facts. And if you ever need anything, we're here to talk.
And I will repost this onto my YouTube page, even though it's on our YouTube page, just because we don't have as many people, and see if we can get some people over here. Please share. And yeah, I thought this went really well today, and we will let you know when the next one is, guys.
And just a reminder, we are live streaming on Facebook. We are live here, and we are live, and I will repost this in little clips of this on our TikTok channels. So if you can, in any means or forms, there are some cases that are going to require some cost involved when you go to the courthouse and you do ask for records. I mean, one time I paid $4,000 for records. So if you can, donate to the link on our channel right here. It does go for the documents only. And anything else that we may need. If you want to tip the host, we're not asking for money, but we're always available. We're doing this to help educate and share truth, facts, and evidence. So,
yes, Phoenix and I are looking forward to being able to go and actually interview people and see people. I would have loved to be part of the Lori Vallow trial myself, but that just the timing wasn't good. So yeah, anyways, there you go, guys. There's our Cash App. Please share, and thank you for being here.
And just so you all know, I may go back home, and that's Idaho, for the Idaho 4 unalivings in regards to the Brian Koberger case in Boise, Idaho. So take care, and we will talk to you all soon. Thank you, Naomi.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Phoenix.